G'day, Aussie Bonsai, don't care, hey, go!
G'day guys, girls and unidentified. Here we are today with Lawrie's Red Gum Bonsai. And Lawrie assures me he only had this for 2 or so years, and this is how far it's already come in 2 years. So those people that are beginners and so they've only been doing it for 2 years and they don't have anything decent, look at this one. Basically what he's done is he's just trimmed it back where he needed to. He's growing a sacrifice branch at the bottom to try and fatten the bottom up. Got a beautiful side branch here which is turning into a trunk. And basically he's off in Canada with his wife Aaliyah, and they're having fun there visiting her family, and he might not be back for 4 years, could be back in 1. But anyway, so I'm looking after his trees, and please don't tell him, but a rat ate his ficus, both of them. I don't know what it is, but rats love ficus. Just ate trunks clean off, so don't tell him about that one. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to get in here and trim it. There's a lot of trimming to do, but at the same time not too bad. Basically we're going to choose 2 branches per location, cut off branches that head back into areas you don't really want a branch to head back into, and also cut them back to a point where you've got small leaves or close buds, internodes. If there's no leaf where you're cutting it back to but there's an internode, that's fine. And we're just gonna let the tree respond. As far as for an area like down here, we just want that to grow as far as it can. We don't really care with that one how it grows or what it does, because we're not going to keep it, but a lot of these other ones we're going to keep. So we're just going to cut back to hopefully a leaf or a branch that's looking healthy. Cut off the ugly looking branches, keep the good looking branches. If you can, keep branches that have more of a relationship with each other. And when I say that, I mean they don't just completely oppose each other. When a branch comes out from a tree and it looks natural, they don't just stick out like a T-junction in a road. They should be almost joined together and sticking out as if they've got a good relationship with each other, rather than like spreading way apart like get away from me. So keep that in mind. Always try and have more, I think it's called acute angles, rather than really wide angles, because we want to keep branches looking good and growing, hopefully in relationship to each other. Otherwise it doesn't look harmonic, or whatever you want to call it. It's too big a word for me. It doesn't look natural. It looks out of place. We want it to look in place and look reasonably natural. So yeah, we're just gonna go along chopping things that I don't like, keeping things I do like. And well, poor old Lawrie, well, he don't have much of a say because he's in Canada. So his tree's getting a haircut without his permission or knowledge. And he'll probably see this video and be like, okay, well my tree just got another trim. I've got to keep in mind, definitely keep in mind all these sacrifice branches. Some have died, as is what happens with the red gum. I did defoliate his tree, same as mine, in summer this year. I defoliated his and I defoliated mine. So I think that benefits these trees. I think it stops them from dropping so many branches my belief anyway. So yeah, I just want to chop it back to 2 branches per location. Anything growing towards the inside I'm chopping off. I'll try and keep this quick, but I am going to keep you guys live for the whole thing. And not because I think you guys have got something to learn about this whole process, although you might learn something. It's more to the fact that then when I go into editing, I can just literally play, render the whole thing, no edit. Bloody slack, isn't it? That's bloody slack, Sammy. Should never ever do a video like that, ever. Such a slack man. So yeah, here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from one location. I don't want any more than 2. 3 sometimes is okay on a rare circumstance on the trunk. Circumstance or stance. Sometimes on the trunk it's okay because the trunk is fat enough, especially if you've got a really fat trunk, not so much on an elegant trunk like an Australian native river gum. But if you've got a fat trunk, it's okay to have sometimes 3 branches, or a fat branch, or secondary trunk. It's sometimes okay, but in this instance it's not. And we got 5 up here. So what I want to do is, because it's the top of the tree, generally top of the tree I always say keep the weakest 2 shoots, as long as they are matching, like I say. They look like they work together rather than spreading apart. But in this case we really want the very top of this tree to become more and more dominant for a little while at least. Until you get into the small ramification or small branches. Don't really need there to be, we don't really need to cut back to the small ones. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to chop all 3 off the side here. Chop this backward facing weird one and shorten that one. And that's it. So now we've got a nice branch there. This really strong one at the back. I'm not going to let it go all the way up to here. Okay, which would look weird. I'm not going to let it go all the way up to there without any divisions. I'm going to chop it back here and it should back bud and give us something back there. They do back bud pretty well, the gums, but when I say they back bud pretty well, they don't back bud well if you only cut 1 single branch. Okay, if you cut 1 single branch but don't cut anything else on the whole tree, then I would have to say they don't back bud that well. But if you're cutting back the whole tree and trimming the whole tree at once like I am here, okay, because everything's been reduced and the strength of the tree's been reduced everywhere, of the foliage I mean. The roots are still intact and we're not going to be repotting this today, we're just going to be leaving it. And they put out a massive flush of growth across the whole tree. If you were to cut just 1 branch back like this, okay, but leave everything else long and leggy, then yeah, you know, pretty certain that you would end up with that branch that you cut back to die. Whereas like this, where everything's getting trimmed back, a bit like a defoliation, when everything's getting trimmed back, your chance of death is very slim. So, you know, we just go through here and just choose the interesting branches. Delete the ugly or uninteresting, or if they just don't look like they make sense to the rest of the tree, or they're heading into an area that's already full of branches. So here I chose the 2 branches that are heading back towards some good empty space that needs to be filled. And I pretty well do the whole tree like that. You just keep Working your way through, working your way through. Now we do have, okay, there's potential on this tree to change the front. The front sort of feels like that's the front, but then if you look this way with this big heavy branch here and this nice one on the left, this can also be the front. We don't have to decide that today. We can leave it. I'll get rid of this little guy here. We can leave that for today, but all we need to do is just to reduce this side over here. Once again, get rid of any insignificant branches that take away from the tree. We are generally keeping stronger ones for now because we're still trying to grow the height of the tree at the moment. Here we're going to take a real big one off because there was a long internode. This one here is long internode, so that's gone. Long internode with nothing on it. Okay, another long internode. If you get a really long internode with no growth, they have to come off because if you leave it on now, it's still going to be on there in another 20 odd years, so we have to get rid of it now. And then hopefully the next growth that comes along after we've cut that off today, the next growth that comes along should hopefully be something with a bit smaller internode length. But I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so it looks pretty bare, okay, but quite beautiful. You know, you've got a good structure in this tree. This tree, you're talking about a 3-year-old tree here. Has beautiful structure. You could probably wire this one up here. Okay, let it grow up. It'll probably grow up with the sun anyway. And like I say, this one here is sacrifice branch to fatten the base. Alright, so we might do that. I'll just do it. Alright, let's get some wire. We want to pay our respects to Lawrie's tree and do as good as we can for his tree, and I feel like this branch has to come up, and unfortunately for him, he doesn't get a say. That's what happens when you leave your tree in someone else's care for a good couple of years. Don't tell him about the rats eating his ficus. I haven't even told him. I feel too bad to tell him, poor bloke. Right, so that branch is going up now, and I can train the rest of the top of that to go out. But I'm pretty happy with that. That's all doing pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the shape. It all looks pretty natural to me. Just up and out, bushing out like a normal red gum would. So, front, well, take your pick, you know. Either or, there. There. All looks good to me, so there you go. Red gum. Growing away. Another trim. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Red gum bonsai, give it a go. I hope I did Lawrie's tree justice again, working on it. There you go. All done. Cheers, Lawrie. Thanks for letting me work on your trees. Cheers. Catch you later, guys. Thanks for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. And have a great night. Cheers.